Welcome to the Bucher and Friends podcast, co-starring 10-year NBA center Ryan Hollins.
Couple pump fakes, leans in, shot blocked by Ryan Hollins. Hollins sent that into the third row.
6 rebounds and 8 assists.
Hollins climbs the stairs.
Down the floor. Ryan Hollins! He is the high jumper!
That's what I want to see. Give me some gunpowder and throw the hammer down.
And now, here is your host,
Let's send it over to Ric Bucher.
Ric Bucher.
Welcome to another episode of Bucher and Hollins, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends, part of the United WeCast Network. I'm Ric Bucher. You can follow my stuff on Bleacher Report. You can follow me on Twitter at Ric Bucher. He is Ryan Hollins. You can find him on Twitter at The Ryan Hollins, on Instagram at simply Ryan Hollins. You can see him on ESPN. You can see him on NBA TV. You can see him on both in the next couple of days. You can hear him on NBA radio. And obviously, you can find him here on a regular basis. All right, so Ryan is on the road. I don't know how this is going to go because Ryan just alerted me that he's going to be walking around his hotel room while he records this podcast. As you well know, for our regular listeners, Ryan only pays half attention to what I have to say during the podcast. Usually he's doing something else, his taxes, looking up funny cat videos, who knows what else, giving us live updates on whatever games he may be watching at the time. Sometimes he's ironing shirts. You never know what you're going to get, and I don't know what we're going to get today. But in any event, a couple of things that I want to hit. Dirk Nowitzki is considering playing another year. We talked about Dwayne Wade, and he's not, even though people think that he should. Nobody's saying that about Dirk, but Dirk's apparently considering it since he didn't announce his retirement. And I want to have a conversation about the MVP race and the Rookie of the Year race, who might be at the top of your list as of right now with 20-some games to go. And then, of course, we are going to hit our picks against the spread and the over-under for the Friday night games, or at least the ones that are posted to this point as we record this. So with that, I welcome you in, Ryan. How's the hotel room, by the way? Are you living large?
This is beautiful, man. This is beautiful. I mean, it's not a suite, but you got to understand, for a guy from humble beginnings, man, I will take the Four Seasons, brother. I will take the New York Four Seasons, and I am happy, man. I am good. And for a 7-footer, I will say, like, the bet is my main concern. Like, I don't care what else is going on here, bro. No. But, like, if the bet is solid, the little fluffy, covers, they just let you know, I'm good. I'm good, bro.
What's the strangest accommodation that a hotel has made for you when it comes to a bed? If they didn't have a bed that could accommodate a 7-footer, what have they done to try to give you a place to sleep?
So, in Europe, when I played for the under-19 team, I'm going to really fancy you. It's me and David Burgess. And me and David Burgess go into the room, and both of the beds are stuck together. And we're like, you got a guy 6'10", and then a guy 7 feet. I'm not doing this, bro. This is not happening. And then when I played overseas, was it that? Yeah, I guess it was last year. It seems so far away, Rick. Or the year before, right? Or
yeah,
whatever.
The year before.
Me and Andres, who's the 7-footer who was drafted by Philadelphia and Gran Canaria, we're in the room. They give us the same room. And, like, the beds are together. And then it was like, we're both so tall and the beds were short. So there was something about us kind of laying sideways.
Yeah.
But sharing the bed. And then, we're joking with Andres. And Andres, I guess, with his former roommate, slept naked. And that's a European thing. And I'm like, bro, I'm going to kick your butt if you think you're going to sleep naked with me, and then we got to do this diagonal thing, bro.
Right.
We ain't that European comfort here. So I will say, as far as sleeping arrangements, nothing beats Europe, bro.
No doubt. The funniest thing I ever saw was when Yao Ming came over. His size, his height, even though is basically 4 or 5 inches taller than you are, but it freaked out so many hotels that the arrangements they provided. The funniest I ever saw was they took 2 regular beds and they put them end to end. So they gave him like, I don't know, like about 15 feet worth of bed.
Wow.
Just taking up the entire room. It looked like a freaking runway.
But you know what though, Rick?
Yeah.
Like the thing is, when you do that, the problem is the bed is meant for you to kind of fall into the middle.
Yes.
Now, Eastern King will go half and half because I think it's like 2 twins together.
Yeah.
But a California King is meant for one person down the middle. So when you go to the half, it still doesn't always work out for Yao. He's kind of got to have something for his legs to hang off. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
like at home, I actually got a custom bed.
Yeah.
So I haven't, and I paid for it, bro. It is, and not paid for it as in the price, because you know me, I'm cheap. I found a hookup. But as far as effort, so okay, it's not just get a custom bed, mattress, get a custom frame. Okay, you got the custom frame. Now find custom sheets, bro.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I got the Eastern King because the Eastern King's wider, but the California King is longer. So I got an Eastern and a California King, and I mean, just getting that thing up the stairs, bro, it was work, you know, and it's definitely worth it because, you know, I would have a headache, you know, like on the California King, my wife would fall into my side. I'm like, get away, like, I love you, baby, like, get away from me.
Yeah.
In the Eastern King, it wasn't long enough, so my feet hang off, you know. So then now I've got the best of both worlds, you know.
That's why when Pau Gasol left Memphis, Mark moved into his condo because the bed was all set. The one thing he knew was he was going to have a bed for a 7-footer. So he just took that. He took that over.
Mark is good. I don't think he hits the. Mark is like 6'10", so I don't think he like Powell is good.
He's a big dude though.
Yes. He is.
You know, whether it's pure height or whatever, but you know, I don't know. For me, once you're talking 6'10", 6'11", 7 feet, it's kind of all the same. And then you have the guys that never wanted to be known as 7-footers. It's like Kevin Durant's damn near 7 feet.
Garnett and Durant. Yep.
So, all right. Let's hit the whole Dirk subject real quick. He is now, or at least the reports are that he is thinking twice, because I guess he's in the starting lineup for Dallas. He's thinking twice about retiring, that maybe he'd like to play another year. I go back to, obviously he was in the All-Star game, the assumption that he was going to retire, and Adam Silver really kind of roasted him. He said, in adding Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki to the All-Star festivities and the games, obviously Wade had announced his retirement. But in the case of Dirk Nowitzki, these are the words of Silver. In the case of Dirk Nowitzki, I saw him painfully running up and down the court, and I think it was clear that this was going to be his last season. It was like, I hope you're going to stop playing because it's painful watching you play because you look like you're in pain. I will say this. I believe wholeheartedly if a guy wants to play and he can find a team that's going to let him play, then he by all means should play. But if Dallas is serious about taking the next step, it's at some point it's got to stop being the glory road for Dirk Nowitzki. Because if you're talking about building a team and being serious about building a team, are you going to kick Dirk to the side when need be? Because I don't see him being as in a team that's legit, being a regular rotation player at this point.
Well, you gotta understand, Rick. The reason he's saying this, it's not about himself. It's about Kristaps, and he wants to be there alongside his journey. I don't think, as far as Dirk playing minutes, I don't think he'd ever care to. Next year, I think it's more about, this year's kind of the farewell tour, and he missed about half the season just to get to this point where he's playing.
Yeah.
And I think just to be there with Kristaps day in and day out, because Dirk, when he first came over to the league, he had such a tough time, Rick.
Yep.
Adjusting to the physicality of the league, the travel, the expectations. He was the staple for, these Europeans can't play. They're soft, and he sees so much. His heart really goes out to Kristaps, and I think just he wants to leave the team in good hands. So maybe he's more of a player coach. Clearly, obviously, but that's what I see this being about.
I get that, and it's a noble thought, and it makes a certain degree of sense. But one, Dirk came over, and he had played in like the German second division, didn't know the language, didn't really know the culture. He was he was a fish out of water, no doubt. I feel as if, look, Kristaps has been in New York for a couple of years. He's got his brother over here. I'm not even sure that Dirk's family came with him. I think he came by himself. So I get it, but I'm just not convinced that Kristaps at this point needs that much hand-holding. And if he does, Luka Doncic is right there too. And while Doncic is certainly young, he's old as far as basketball is concerned and making the adjustment. So again, I'd go back to the same thing. Like, I love Dirk, and I loved seeing him in the All-Star game. But if the Dallas Mavericks are serious about making themselves playoff contenders next year, being a serious team, it's hard. And a lot of it's simply because you want to respect Dirk, right? I don't want to have Dirk there just as a mascot or sitting on the bench. Like, if he's there, I would feel like Mark Cuban and Rick Carlisle, for all that Dirk has done, they're going to feel sort of obligated to play him as much as they can, and even maybe at the detriment to the team.
We can't say that until they load their roster up and you see who they can get with their mid-level exception and draft picks. There's still a lot to be determined there, but I can't see. Rick Carlisle has no problem subbing Dirk out the game. I don't see Rick. I don't see Dirk being that big of a problem. I can't see it to that point. I hear what you're saying, but I don't think it gets there.
Okay. All right. So
this isn't Kobe Bryant. You know what I'm saying? Kobe was hindering the growth of the young guys there. Like, this ain't Kobe. All right.
Well, but that was also a team. Like, I didn't see the team that Kobe was with. I didn't think they were going anywhere that year. For me, this year is like Kobe's last year. Dallas this year with Dirk is like Kobe's last year. If he'd hung around another year, then I would have said, okay, what are we doing here? And the other part is that, like, Kobe announced it. We knew that this was going to be his last run. Dirk not announcing it kind of puts you in limbo too. Because we've had all these wonderful send-offs. Just what's Doc going to do next year? Doc Rivers already gave him this stop the game to give him a standing O. Now Dirk's back next year. It'll be like, okay, so what are we doing? I can see him coming out for warm-ups, and Doc's like, hey, what are you doing here? In any event.
Yeah, no, you're right. I don't think he hits the floor. You're right. You kind of can't hit the floor after that. But he's in the midst of it. He doesn't want to talk about retiring. He can't hit the floor. Maybe he has a jersey. You're right. He can't hit the floor again. He'll be there.
He's also, he's such a gym rat that I genuinely think that he's just like, I just want to keep playing. And
you don't know what else to do. Yeah, you don't know what else to do.
Right. All right. So we have not talked about. Well, here and there we've talked about MVP, but we've talked about it indirectly, and we haven't talked about Rookie of the Year at all. One reason for me is because there's nothing to talk about, but because Trae Young has gotten hot of late, now suddenly and the Kings have put themselves in the playoff picture. I'm now hearing talk about Marvin Bagley and Trae Young, closing the gap on Luka Doncic, which. Closing the gap, yeah, okay, so they cut it from 10 miles to 9.5, in my mind, when it comes to the Rookie of the Year race. There is no race. Luka Doncic could sit down right now and not play the last 20 games, and he would still be the runaway rookie of the year.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's done so much, bro. It's not even like I watched Luka. I worked the game last week when he came down and played against the Clippers, and Rick, he's so good. Like he's not just kind of like, oh, he's playing in the system.
Yeah,
like
he's become the system. Like they play off of him.
Yep.
And he's been given that freedom. And Trey has a lot of freedom too. They've done a lot of things to accommodate him. But again, what I see with Doncic is not only, first of all, he's a better shooter than Trey. He just all around does more than Trey. But he gets a lot for a lot of other guys. And Trey has been, his passing, he's shown me some things when it comes to his passing, but he doesn't manipulate the defense the way Doncic does. And he's started what he's showing us. He's showed us in the last, 3 weeks or so, maybe a month. Doncic has been doing what he's been doing all year long. I think it's such a disservice. I know we get bored with some of these things, and there's nothing to write about if you just say, hey, it's Doncic's, let's just move on. Sometimes I think there are stories created just to try to fill some space. And I would say that this is trying to thrust Trae Young or trying to suggest that there's some intrigue when it comes to Rookie of the Year is one of those stories.
Yeah, no, it's not, man. And physically, Luka's winning a lot of these one-on-one matchups, man. He's a problem. It's not, like we said, it's not just system. He physically, man, is, finishing over guys, shooting over guys. Like I don't want to say he's to the point imposing his will, but I'll tell you, when they make comparisons to a young LeBron James, clearly the athleticism is not there.
Right.
But he has a similar effect as a big guard, so he's a guy who he's a walking triple-double, and then one-on-one, he can go get it to where he's going to draw double teams or score, and that's the pace that he's on. And in fact, obviously, he's not the athlete of a young LeBron James, but as far as impact-wise, he's got a better feel and a better shot and more, maybe quite possibly the most polished rookie we've ever seen, ever. As far as being polished and impact, quite as far as game-wise, knowing angles, shooting, dribbling, passing, he's probably the best rookie we've ever seen in the history of the NBA.
Wow, that is quite a statement, and yet
skill level.
He is there. It's going to sound like sacrilege to make the comparison, but you think about a young Larry Bird coming into the league, and Doncic is comparable. I'd say he's comparable. As far as
I would love to say Larry couldn't pass, but I don't think they ran
Larry
off
can pass.
That's what I would say is they wouldn't run offense like, hey, Larry, you're our starting point guard tonight. He got the ball secondary, but now Luka in today's NBA, Larry quite possibly will start at point guard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The game's changed. It's hard to make that comparison. I would say here are the two other things. Now, one, Doncic has some dog in him. Like, guys come at him, he's got the Chauncey Billups. Oh, I like this. I like guys coming at me, and I'm going to invite the challenge, and I'm going to come right back at you. There's no hesitation there. And the other part is that, by the way, they changed up this team around him in midstream. They had a major trade at the trade deadline in order to get Kristaps, who, by the way, we acquired an asset, the biggest asset, that's no longer now playing with us. Changed up the team, and yet he hasn't missed a beat as far as how he's playing. That has to be taken into consideration as well.
You're absolutely right. I looked at it the other day. They have quite possibly the softest and smallest team in the league. Like, no lie, you lost your two toughest guys, DeAndre Jordan and Wesley Matthews. Seriously, like Montrezl Harrell have like 100 dunks,
right?
But like Luka, literally, like he's still getting 30. He's still imposing his will. Now there are shooters around him, which isn't bad, but I mean, like, he still does what he wants. Like, no, you're spot on, Rick.
I would make the case Doncic is the best player on his team. I'm not even sure I would say that about Trae Young. The way John Collins is playing right now, I think he goes neck and neck with him as far as who's the best player or the best talent on that team. John Collins is killing. John Collins is better than any big on the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, by far. But no, Trae Young's doing some special stuff right now. Just because he's getting in the teeth of the lane, and those two have a nice little synergy and Dentman that, Trae Young is the head of the snake right now, and you see he's starting to pick it up with the three ball. But I talked to you before when I watched him play that, he started to rely on his craftiness in the paint, and that was different than the comparisons to Steph Curry. Steph wasn't strong enough to live in the paint. Steph had
to start.
He had to establish himself out 30 feet from the basket. But Trae's comfortable shooting a mid-range, getting in the paint, throwing lobs, throwing up floaters, doing, various things. So that's what's impressing about Trae. And I think Trae started to try to be Trae rather than Trae try to be Steph Curry. Yeah. And now his shooting has come secondary.
That's well said. All right, before we go on and make our picks, the MVP race, who's at the top of your ballot as of right now? You don't actually have a ballot. I have a ballot, and you have to put 5 names on there. But I'm wondering, and you can either give me just the 5 that are on your ballot if you haven't decided what order or who's at the top. The second thought, I want to know who's leading the race for you right now.
James Harden. Why would you even ask me that? If he's not even leading for your ballot or anybody else, like, you're crazy. James Harden.
Well, case could be made for Giannis Antetokounmpo. They have a better. I think they've won maybe 10 more games.
If I want to argue for Giannis, I would say right now you have the number 1 record in the league.
Yeah,
I had to see that all the way through because Toronto's on his head. If Golden State gets hot. If these other teams get hot, then that's a big factor. Like, he has to finish number 1. We had to see that. And they had been overtaken by Toronto. That's not far-fetched. For 2, Giannis has been very consistent. But I give James the edge, and this is the same edge that I gave Russell Westbrook. We watched history happen. We watched the historical numbers that we had never thought was possible, and especially not for a guy shooting 3-point shots. So when I give that credit to Harden is something I hadn't seen. I've seen Giannis's numbers out of Kevin Garnett. I've seen them out of Anthony Davis. I've seen them out of a number of guys before. So the big credit to Giannis is that his team is number 1. Now, Giannis is also a huge beneficiary of a system. James Harden is the system. You make Mike D'Antoni, the creator of the 7-second offense, actually change his dynamic and his offense for you, James, because you are that good. And that says a lot. And people question, James's unassisted baskets. Well, guess what? James is a willing passer. He's just doing whatever it takes to win. Mm-hmm. Now, if he wasn't, I'm not a fan of selfish basketball. But he's literally changed the game, man. He's changed the NBA, the way that we play. He's doing something that we've never seen.
I am slow to whether it's Russ Westbrook's triple doubles or it's what Harden's doing this year. I'm slow to talk about things being historic and making too big of a deal of them simply because the game has changed so dramatically that it benefits the offense. It benefits having these monstrous numbers. So I give the guys credit, but I'm reluctant to give them too much credit. Now, all that said, I have a conundrum because I do look at the record. I do look at all that Giannis is doing, the consistency with which he has played. And there's a part of me that wants to put him at the top of my ballot for all of that. And yet, when I step back and I think about playing the game and understanding how to, again, manipulate the game for the same reason that I picked Doncic over Trae, James has it. And I look at the injuries that they've suffered, they haven't missed a beat, in large part because James. He's put them on his back in a way that Giannis has put together numbers, but not in the same way that Harden has. As you said, I feel as if what Budenholzer has done with their system and the fact that they've been far healthier this year than they were last year is really the difference maker as far as why the Bucks are so much better than they were last year. Has Giannis improved? Yes. And is he a fantastic talent? Yes. But I still, like when I watch him play, I see a guy who's still kind of figuring out the game. You know what I mean, Ryan?
Yeah, bro. Physically, he still is very raw. And a lot of people jump on me, or fans try to jump on me when they say, oh, he's a closer. Look at his clutch numbers. Yeah, he gets rebounds. He may get an assist here or there, but when the game is on the line, Giannis ain't scoring the basketball.
No.
Maybe he'll get a tip in, an effort play. And right now in the Eastern Conference, he's physically so much bigger and more dominant than the rest of the guys that he's just, I'm bigger, stronger, faster. And I'm never going to argue that. But that game does not truly win in the NBA because you're going to match up against a team or a guy who's just as big, just as strong, just as fast, and is prepared to play. And they're going to have a no dunk rule, and you're not going to see the rim. Okay, you're not dunking through the NBA playoffs. That's just not happening, and especially not, in the third and fourth quarters of games. So ultimately, I'm not giving him that nod. But he has been a model of consistency. That's something that I don't want to take away from him. But James Harden, what he's done, it's absolutely been masterful. And the knock that you can maybe say on Harden is that he doesn't have the number one team or number two team in the Western Conference. But dude, you go get beat up by the Western Conference versus playing the Eastern Conference, and you look at the seeds outside of the top four guys. I'm not really going to count the Pacers, but you got to go, you're talking about the Charlottes, the Hornets, the Pistons, the Hawks, the Knicks. You're getting those teams 4 times a year. I'm just not buying it the same with Giannis, bro.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it's fair to say that Giannis, in however order you put them, that Harden and Giannis would both be on our ballots. Among the other names, are there other guys? Who are your other 3, or is there anybody else that has to be on the ballot in your mind? Has to be among the final 5.
So I got my numbers. Paul George is having a special year. Mm-hmm. Paul George is number 3. Just the way he's finished games, he's taken them over. He's really, really grown into his own. And I think this year more than anything, not only is he fully healthy finally, but he's actually gotten some rhythm in Oklahoma City. So he's had some monster 40-point games where he shot the ball well. And defensively, Paul has always brought it every night. Right after Paul, I got to say that both those guys are MVP candidates in Russell Westbrook. I don't care how you put it up. The team is third in the West. It's because of Russ and the way that he's dominated sharing the basketball. He's the engine behind Oklahoma City and their success. And if I'm going to look at a 5th guy, Nikola Jokic, you cannot look at Jokic and not give him credit for what he's been able to do there. And he trilled, like Rick, seriously, he plays point center, bro. Like, I don't know how else to add it up. So his impact and their record in the West, what he's done with the Nuggets, a team that, kind of lost in that play-in game to make it to the playoffs, you have to have Jokic in those considerations.
Yeah, there's a couple other guys. I mean, we're not mentioning anybody from the Golden State Warriors. If you had to pick KD or Steph, who are you picking?
I would pick Steph all day, but Steph was hurt half the year. These dudes take games off,
half the year. He wouldn't hurt that long.
Well, whatever. I don't think any of them are they're not trying to be heroes.
No, but whether they're trying for it or not, it's a matter of whether we recognize it. You mentioned the Toronto Raptors and the fact that they could wind up being the best team in the Eastern Conference. Do you have why do you not have a Kawhi or? I mean, Kawhi would be the default. Why do you not have an MVP candidate with them? Or could he
When
sneak
it comes
in
to
there?
the MVP race, you got to see something special. You got to see this out-of-body performance, a real serious push. And the one thing about Kawhi sat out games. Kevin Durant and the Warriors, they just pick and choose when they want to play. And, you're not looking at one chief. Like when Steph won his MVPs, he was just blowing the league out of the water. Like night in and night out, he was literally putting on a show.
Yeah.
He was doing. I mean, it was obscene, the stuff that he was doing. And you look at consistency, you look at workload, you see, numbers, you look at history. Now when I talk about MVP, I talk about history, Rick, and I know you may not agree with that, but it's something we hadn't seen before. And if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. So to me, you can never demean a triple-double or a 30-point streak or anything that these new guys are doing, even though, yeah, it was impressive to do it because there was less possessions before in the game. But, to still put that toll on your body, your hat has to go off to these guys.
Yeah, no, I'm not dismissing the accomplishment. To make it a one-of-a-kind thing, or to say that there weren't guys previously who, if they were playing in this era, couldn't have done the same thing. That's where I stop short to think how much of this is a function of these specially gifted players playing at this time, as opposed to, look, are they the best at doing it right now? Sure, I'll give them that. But if we're talking about historic performances, is this something, like people say, we've never seen any, I think you just said it, we've never seen anything like this before. Well, okay, we've never seen the game played like this before, so I don't know how much it is. We've never seen a talent like this before versus we've never seen a talent like this in the game the way it's played now before. And I suspect that it's more the latter than the former. But we can continue this because we still have a good month and change to go before we get to the stretch run. And I wonder whether a Damian Lillard or I mentioned Kawhi. We have to talk more about Jokic. I struggle with. I guess I don't appreciate his game to the level that I should. So I'm going to give you the opportunity over these next couple of weeks to persuade me or show me what it is that I'm missing when it comes to him. All right, are you ready? Are you ready to pick? Because we haven't done this. I updated our standings. As of right now, I was a little surprised by this. You have more wins than I do, but I don't even know how this is possible.
Over under? You're probably better on the over. You may be better on the over under.
No, I'm just looking at overall winning percentage, and mine comes out to 56.8, and yours is 56.3. But I have to be doing something wrong here for that to be the case. In any event, we're both over 55%. Winning percentage, and we've had a couple of down weeks, so we need to get back on a winning streak. And with that, are you ready to do that? Are you ready to get back to our winning ways?
Let's roll.
All right, let's roll. So our first game is the Charlotte Hornets visiting the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are giving the Hornets 3.5 points, and the over-under is 228. I will start if you would like.
Go ahead.
I'm taking the Brooklyn Nets. I'm giving the 3.5 points. Both of these teams have been struggling a little bit of late, but being at home, the Hornets have been struggling a little bit more. I just feel as if the Nets are, and the Nets. Here's the big number that I found against the spread. They are 8-1 after losing against the spread, and they lost their last game against the spread. So I'm going with the Nets, and I'm going with the over because while they were a low-scoring team for better part of this year, both the Hornets and the Nets their over record is in the top 7 in the league when it comes to hitting the over. So I'm going to take the Nets and the over.
Yeah, I'm actually going to agree with you. The Nets are pretty consistent. In Charlotte, there's so much on Kemba's shoulders at the end of the game that he will fall short. He has, he'll run out of gas. And I do like the over because, both these teams play small. They don't really block shots, at a great rate. So I actually agree. We will see a lot of up and down in basketball. I'm going with the over also.
All right, the next game is Chicago visiting the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks are giving the Bulls 2 points, and the over-under is 230. Where are you going with this?
This is a tough call because Chicago has been playing really well lately. Mm-hmm. But I'm actually going to take Atlanta in this situation. Mm-hmm. I think defensively they're better. And I'm going to go over because both these teams are shooting the ball at a high clip. They get up and down, and you're going to see a lot of 3-pointers this game.
I agree with you. I'm going to take Atlanta largely because I think that what the Bulls have been doing has been off of what Lauri Markkanen has been doing, and I think John Collins can nullify that to enough of an extent that that Atlanta covers the 2 points. At the same time, Chicago is scoring much better than they did earlier in the year, and obviously Atlanta has been on fire thanks to Trae Young finding himself. So I am with you on all of that. I'm going Atlanta, and I'm going the over at 230. All right, Wizards are visiting the Celtics. The Celtics are giving the Wizards 9 points, and the over-under is 231. Man, normally you'd look at this and you'd say, I'll give the 9, I'll take Boston, and there have been times where Boston has done exactly that, and they've been much better at home than they have been on the road. But they've also been such a mess. I mean, they've been so up and down, and not a whole lot has changed. Or there's been such a lack of consistency. I am going to go the over because Boston has just been terrific when it comes to that. And I mean, both Boston and Washington, you're talking about 2 top 3 teams when it comes to hitting the over. But I'm going to give Washington the 9 points because I just don't see the Celtics blowing anybody out at this point.
I'm actually going to take Boston because the Wizards are poor defensively, and I think with a team like Boston, they still have talent. Once they kind of figure out what they can do, they'll be able to score. I'm going to go with the over just because I don't think any team on the other end has been great defensively. And I think the Wizards would be able to score enough because to me, the Wizards scoring would be what would kind of mess that up as far as getting that over-under.
The Portland Trailblazers are visiting the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors are giving 5 points, and the over-under is 227. Where are you going with this?
I'm actually going to go with the Raptors here because they Portland just got a big win the other night. And I'm actually going to go with the under. I think there's going to be just a little smidge of defense played here. And that defense will be in the Raptors' favor.
227 is a big, big number for where they are. The 5 points. You're right. Portland has been playing well. Toronto, though, has the kind of length that can bother the Blazers. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to take Portland. I'll take the 5 points because of the way they're playing, and they don't necessarily match up that length on the point guards with Jeremy Lin and Kyle Lowry. I think those are matchups where CJ McCollum and Damian can still get some things done. So I'm going to go with you on the under, but I am going to take Portland and the 5 points. We have the Clippers visiting the Sacramento Kings. Ooh, this is a good one. And the Kings are giving the Clippers 3 points, and the over-under is 240. I'll just tell you, I can't remember the last time I saw this many games with the over-under set this high. We got 228, 230, 231, 227, 240. I guess we haven't gotten to the Memphis Grizzlies and their games yet, but still, that, and we have one more game, the Bucks and the Lakers, and that's over-under is at 237. These are monstrous over-under numbers. But Clippers, Kings, it's my turn. I believe with the -3, I don't know. I feel as if the Clippers, they've regained a little something. And I'm going to take the 3 points. And I am going 240, though. As much as these two teams score, boy, that's a big number. I'm going to go the under. I'm going to say, I'm going to take the under simply because I think it's going to be high scoring. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring. And with Marvin Bagley out, while I don't have him as a Rookie of the Year candidate, I would say that that's going to bother the Kings, and it's going to only open up more action for Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Clippers, and I'm actually going to go with the under. But yeah, the Clippers lost a tough one with playoff implications to Utah at Utah the other night. So you can't really look at that loss as a big deal, and they battled, so it shows this is a different team. So I'm going Clippers, and I'm going to go under because that if they're going to win, that pace is going to have to be controlled just a little bit.
Yes.
And to be under 240. But if I was going to go Kings, I would have to go over.
Yeah.
That's how they win.
Yep. I'm with you. All right. Bucks and the Lakers, the last game that we'll be picking. If there are any additional games that aren't listed yet, we will put those out on Twitter tomorrow. Ryan's favorite thing to do, by the way. All right, so the Lakers they are a home dog against the Milwaukee Bucks. They are getting 4.5 points, and the over-under is 237. Where are you going with this?
The Lakers are getting 4 points?
They're getting 4.5 at home.
I'm actually going to go Lakers here. And I'm going to go over because I don't think anybody's going to be able to stop each other.
Yes, I'm going to go Milwaukee just because I think that, it's interesting. I want to see if LeBron rises to the challenge because I know Giannis is going to come in here looking to prove something. And the question is LeBron going to try to put him in his place and say, I'm still the king?
He's going to have to guard him, bro. You saw he had to guard Julius Randle the other day. He's going to have to guard him.
Yeah.
You're going to get what you asked for.
Yeah. And I want to see, I want to see. I think it's going to be an interesting test, but I'm going to take Milwaukee just because it is going to be a 3-point shooting contest. And right now, outside of Reggie Bullock, I'm not buying the Lakers long range shooting at this point. And the Bucks can be up and down, but you know that they're going to put it up. And so I'm going to go Milwaukee. I will lay the 4.5 points, and over under. I'm going to go over because I'm with you. I think there's going to be this is going to be an up and down game. All right, that does it for this episode of Bucher and Hollins, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends, part of the United WeCast network. Don't forget, do us a favor. If you enjoy the show, or even if you don't, drop us a rating. Review us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Screenshot the review. This is just an added thing. You don't have to do this. You just hit the stars. We get a rating. Thank you very much. If you want to add a comment, you certainly can. But if you want something from us, we'll screenshot the review and tweet it to Bucher Friends, at Bucher Friends, and you'll be eligible to win some prizes. So that does it for this episode. Our next one, Will Blackman will be joining me. I would love to tell you at this point what we're going to be talking about, but Will has been surprising me of late in terms of what happens to him over the weekend. And obviously, the one conversation that we will have, I guarantee you that we will talk about, is Johnny Manziel being drummed out of the CFL. And we also need to catch up on the American Alliance of Football and where it is and the issues that they're having right now, because I think it's a good product, but They have some things to work out that they haven't quite yet. All of that for you.
How about why not Will Blackman can't play in the NFL, but Jason Witten gets a deal? How about that?
That will also be added now to the agenda. Thank you very much, Mr. Hollins. By the way, you are free to join us on Monday if you would like. If there are some things that you have to say to Mr. Blackman, we will invite you in and we will do a menage a pod, if you will.
I don't think that term works for podcasts, bro. What's wrong with you, Rick?
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
I just was throwing it out there. I'm freelancing.
Goodness.
Don't crowd me, man. Don't crowd me. You got. I need room. I need to be able to breathe. All right. Enough foolishness. Listen, as always, thanks for listening.